Awesome. Well, how are you doing? Are you doing well?
I'm doing okay. It's very exciting. It's very exhausting. And I don't mean exciting as in we're glad these things happen. We're excited to be able to help. Um,
Absolutely.
so my two churches took some of the least damage of any of the churches in the area. So we are the best posed to be able to help, if that makes sense.
No, that totally
Um,
makes sense.
and so I've got two churches, and they needed a distribution center and they needed a place to house volunteers. And one of my churches has showers and the other one doesn't. So the choice was made. So one church is a mini distribution center, and that's the one I'm at right now. And
Cool.
the other one is housing volunteers.
So now, which one was the one? Because you were telling me a little bit about the one how in Katrina it was a field hospital, right? So which one?
That's the one that I'm in right now.
Okay.
I'm going to see. And one reason I'm on my phone was so I could show you a little bit of what's going on here. So this room was the only functioning hospital for over 100,000 people shortly after Katrina.
Oh my gosh.
Like not 100,000, patients, but for an area with a population of about 100,000 people.
Wow.
Um, because one hospital was flooded, another hospital was essentially destroyed by wind, and we were located close to it. So they came in and took this room over, and it became a hospital after Katrina. You can see here one reason that we were fortunate not to have damage. See how thick our walls are.
Wow. Those are very
So
thick
that's
walls.
wall. Um, and so that's part of what they did. And so now this church is a mini distribution center.
Gotcha.
So far, we've already distributed well over 100 UMCOR buckets. We have a few left here. And then you may recognize these as UMCOR hygiene kits.
Yeah.
And so we have some families that come through and are able to quote unquote shop and get what they need. We also have been delivering to the community and to the whole parish, like our county, because
Mhm.
we are the only functioning United Methodist Church in this parish right now. The others took too much damage, so
Wow.
that kind of gives you. And then this is our children's room, where we have more volunteers coming in tomorrow to do more sorting.
Oh my goodness.
But children's clothing and children's supplies and all of that. So this is the church that had been a field hospital after Katrina and is now a distribution center, where we take things mostly what's called down the road. Uh, this
Okay.
church is protected by a flood wall. This town is protected by a flood wall, and our flood wall held, but south of the flood wall, the levees did not hold.
Okay.
And so one of the struggles we've had is that the national news said all the levees held. All the
Oh,
levees in the city of New Orleans held. We're south of New Orleans.
okay.
And so not all of the levees south of New Orleans held.
Got it. Gotcha. Man. So now you're sort of south of New Orleans, but like for people like me who have not spent a whole lot of time in that area, like where exactly are you guys? Like where are your two churches?
So my larger church, which is still a small church, but larger, we had about 95 in attendance at that church pre-COVID. It is located in New Orleans. It's in a neighborhood called Algiers. It's directly across the river from the French Quarter. If you've seen the iconic image that shows the river and then the cathedral on the other side,
Hmm.
that's the image you can see from our neighborhood.
Oh, neat.
And so it's the second oldest neighborhood. It was founded in 1719. So it is in New Orleans.
Cool.
And then this church that I'm currently at is in Belle Chasse, and it's in Plaquemines Parish. And I'm about 20 minutes south of New Orleans. If you look at the map, most people think of us as like a boot. But if you look closely, you'll see that there's a little thing sticking out of the bottom of the boot. Kind of looks like a toenail almost. And that's Plaquemines Parish. And Plaquemines Parish is actually where the Mississippi River goes to the head of passes and flows into the Gulf of Mexico.
Interesting. Okay. So you've got one that's like in New Orleans kind of proper, and then one that's like just sort of almost south kind of, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's south of
okay.
New Orleans. And a lot of
Okay.
people don't realize that there are areas south of New Orleans,
Yeah.
but there are. And all of Plaquemines Parish is south of New Orleans, but we are a home to to many things that many Americans love. We're one of the largest seafood producers in the United States.
I could see
We
that.
have a large amount of citrus groves, growing oranges, navel oranges especially, and satsumas.
Oh,
And
wow.
also we have several refineries. So if you saw your gas prices go up a little bit right after Ida, it's because our refineries were shut down.
Wow.
Here in Belle Chasse itself is kind of similar to New Orleans in the amount of damage because our flood wall held. However, if you drive 25 minutes south of here and go outside that wall, you will see things like marsh grasses hanging from telephone lines, because the storm surge is not just water. It's also everything that comes in with the water and the marsh grasses that get pulled up. And so there's marsh grass on the sides of the road stacked up taller than I am. And it has very interesting and memorable smell.
Oh, oh,
and and like the marsh grasses are hanging from the power lines. And in a community called Ironton, which is one of the ones that we have been focusing on, especially here from the Belle Chasse Church, because it's only about 25 minutes from us, I saw 5 homes that looked like kind of like spaghetti does when you break it in half. In my family, you take spaghetti and you break it in half,
yeah.
and then you put it in the pot. There are homes there that look like that. And a little church there, a little Baptist church that we've partnered with their pastor to help their community. His church, the water line is higher than my head. So I'm 5'6", so I'm not really tall, but if you have a water line that's above 5 feet, that's still a real
That's
tough situation. We're hosting, the Algiers church is hosting teams because
Mhm.
Algiers has showers that were installed years ago after Camille.
Oh,
And then they've
yeah.
been maintained, and they were put in specifically to be able to host teams.
That's
Um,
awesome. That's
and
great.
then the Belle Chasse Church we're taking supplies down. Like I went down last week. I've been down several times, but I went down last week and was delivering flood buckets and granola bars and water in a place called West Point La Hache. And every home in that community flooded, but one that was built up by 10 feet. And I discovered I need taller mud boots to deliver these.
Well, like while we're talking about some of the needs, I mean, we obviously have directed people toward the Louisiana annual conference, as well as your churches and our Amazon wish list that we've set up for you all. What are some ways we can be praying for you all? What are some other ways we can be supporting you all? Yeah, just what are some ways we can support you all from long distance?
So, as far as prayers, I would say praying for the safety of the teams that are coming in and out. It is dangerous work. They are trained teams, but still getting up on roofs and mucking out houses, there's a certain amount of risk with that. And then, like for the congregations in the community, a lot of what has really hit them so hard is that Ida came on the exact 16-year anniversary of Katrina. And also previous to that, there was Gustav on August 29th. So a lot of my people are like, next year, can we just skip August 29th? Like just not have that day of the year. We'll give February 31 days and then let August just have 28. And so I guess prayers for for their spirits to be able to be sustained, for them to have the courage to ask for help when they need it. I will say it's extremely humbling to be on the receiving end of help. Because I've been at churches where we've sent supplies and gone down and sent volunteers. And the first time that I was the one receiving those, that my churches were, it was very humbling. but I can tell you it is making a difference. Even the littlest thing, like we got a very large donation of Cheerios. I can send you a picture where we're standing in front of a wall of Cheerios. Um, but like I had a family reach out to me and they said, we didn't have a lot of damage, but it took a hard financial hit on us. Can you help us with some food? And I went over to their home with a box of food and had the Cheerios on the top. And this little girl comes out and she grabs the box of Cheerios and she says, Cheerios, my favorite. And
Oh,
it made me think about that scripture that talks about receiving the kingdom of heaven like a child. And
mm.
I think forever her face will be etched in my mind. And I'll think about receive the kingdom of heaven like a child receives a box of Cheerios after a hurricane.
Oh, yes.